On the breakfast, a bill seeking to amend Section 77 and 117 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to allow Nigerians in diaspora participate in the electoral process to be considered by lawmakers. Also on the breakfast, growing concerns across the country after a twin attack on INEC offices ahead of the 2023 general election increases. And don't forget, we'll also be looking through today's newspapers, analyzing the biggest stories of the day. Welcome to the breakfast in PlusTvAfrica. It's a beautiful Monday morning, and thanks for joining us. As always, we start off our conversation with what's making the rounds and what's having people engage. We're talking about Nigerians at this point in time. Not necessarily that not Nigerians would not be part of it, but it's what's getting a lot of engagement. I am Messi Ebokbo. We start off with the gunmen attack on Soludo's hometown. Now, that was one of the incidents that happened that got a lot of people talking for several reasons. And some people say, could it be shortly after he made a remark or comment that was, probably didn't sit well with the presidential candidate of the Labour Party? Not necessarily that, anything, we're not trying to add anything there, but it was more like, this is what people are saying. It might just interest you to know that 5 suspected gunmen were killed following a battle with security agencies in Umona, that's in Ugota local government area of Anambra State. Quite unfortunate. Of course, that's the hometown of Charles Soludo, the governor. They attacked the checkpoint early hours of Saturday. And it was really, really unfortunate, an unfortunate incident. A lot of persons have described, that particular location as very peaceful. It's a very peaceful place, and what could have been the reason for this attack. It's quite really not clear yet at the time. Of course, we still say that they are unknown gunmen because their identity is yet to be established, and so there's a generic right now, which the tag goes by unknown gunmen. The Anambra State Security Forces, you need to know that, comprises the military, police, and other security agencies. It was said that they neutralized the 5 unknown gunmen in Umona, in the Sofia, Guta local government area in Anambra State, and they recovered 1 Toyota Venza Jeep with a registration number. Of course, for the want of time, we're not able to go through all of that, but it was quite an unfortunate incident. And just to say that we're still at the era where we talk about insecurity. So insecurity is still at the top, front page of the conversation. It's at the front burner. We're still talking about the fact that we need to get to a point where everyone, the place is safe, our states, local government, what have you, and who are these persons? Don't we have what it takes to repel all of this attack? We're talking about a joint force here. It's a combination of all security, apparatus in the States. It's a lot. Maybe we need to do more. We need to be ahead of this unknown gunmen and these persons who perpetrate this evil. But what exactly is it that we cannot apprehend these elements that are causing confusion and, destabilizing the peace and destroying lives and properties? What exactly is it? We have the police. The police is there, saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that they maintain peace and protects properties, life and properties in a civil, gathering. And so when you have a combination of all security forces with all of that attack, what's going on? There's a lot that needs to be done. It's more like these guys are already ahead of the game, whatever intel. Could it be that there's some sort of compromise? There's a lot of questions that's begging for answers. But security is still on the front burner. It cuts across the entire country, and no one can wake up and say, hey, it's a perfect situation where I am. And so government at all levels needs to pay attention. But it's just, you begin to ask yourself why you have non-state actors being very powerful. It seems like they're overwhelming, state actors with all of these security apparatus and all of the resources that they might have. It's really saddening. Moving away from that, there's also another concern about fire raising the National Open University office in Jigawa. And so we have been experiencing fire incidents in the country in different sphere. Sometimes you have fire incidents in the market. I think he's always popular with the market, and in some other occasion you also talk about fire incident, because that's also an incident that happened. There was an incident that happened where you had fire incident in INEC office over the week or thereabout. So this fire incident just get to happen. But, after an incident happens, expected there should be some sort of investigation to ascertain what's responsible for this fire outbreak. Could it be an arson, or could it just be, an electrical surge or something else, right? But investigation, it's very important that we investigate, we get to the root of it and understand. But we're at the time where over time, because of experience, there's need for education and sensitization. And that's what it is, because electrical appliances, all of these issues, daily activities and practices could, in most cases, be responsible for all of these fire incidents that happens. And so we have the Ministry of Information across the entire state. I mean, in every state, there's a Ministry of Information and Orientation. At the federal level, you probably have that as well. There should be a level of, some sort of sensitization, educating the people to engage in practices that will help us avert, especially if it's not an arson, but it's more like an electrical surge, so we escape all of these issues. So we need, all hands should be on deck. The fire service also has a responsibility. Apart from putting out the fire, it's also the responsibility of the fire service in Nigeria to ensure that they educate the people. They also teach the people to know how to put out the fire in case there's an emergency, in case you don't have the firefighters coming through. So it's really unfortunate. That university, you can only imagine what would happen with all of the documents, credentials, at a time where we don't understand if we're moving, in a digital light, if we're towing the digital line. And that's it. And that is the fact that, there's also a concern that has been raised by the Comptroller General of the Nigerian Immigration Service in Enugu, where he said that the rate at which Nigerians are leaving the country, he described it as worrisome phenomenon. He's expressed that concern over, the alarming rate of Nigerians leaving the country in search of greener pastures. It is within, the DNA. It's like a default setting. People would always want to survive. So it's just a survival instinct. But if you look at it and if you live longer, you would understand that we're in a very different dispensation where the rate at which a lot of persons want to leave the country, it's on the high compared to previous times in the 80s and maybe the early 90s. Now things are quite different as we're in the 20s. Of course, we're in 20 and of course 2022. He's described that incident as quite worrisome, and that's because it was at an occasion where he was giving a speech and talking about how people move. But one of the things that he talked about is that people do not care how they get out, the means of getting out, as long as they get out. That has become. And I think that should be worrisome for you not to be concerned about how you're being moved out of the country as long as you get out. Whether you're smuggled, whether you're in a cage, whether you're in a basket, is not a problem. You just all want to get out. The ultimate goal is to go away. I'm really sure that he's concerned, because why would you? Because if you're smuggled, people are being smuggled in cargoes, different, very unconducive environment or conditions, and they get to, you just move out. It's really worrisome. Really worrisome if you look at it. But what is responsible? So Nigerians also engage. I saw a lot of comments under that particular tweet, or the reaction, and some people said, oh well, I am also planning to leave because the economic situation is not favorable, and then we want to get out there. I think that is something that all stakeholders should pay attention to. That anybody is willing to just get out, even if you're going to smuggle them in a container, they want to go out. What could be responsible for all of that kind of mindset or that ideology where nobody cares how they get out, but getting out is the ultimate goal? And so even if you're going to put them in a pan, you're going to make them uncomfortable, put them in a sag, they just all want to get out. That's it this morning on a Top Trending. We'll take a break, and when we return, it'll be time for us to go through the papers this morning. We call it Off the Press. Please stay with us.